Have you ever been watching or playing something and been so blown away by the audio production that you found yourself wondering, how could I achieve this? With how much high-quality entertainment is being pumped out today, I find myself asking this question almost constantly. Whether it's an in-your-face, action-packed adventure like John Wick, or the immersive environmental sounds of something like Dark Souls 2's Majula, sound is such an integral part in captivating and convincing the audience. While good sound design can go unnoticed by the general viewing audience, normies, it's not lost on us. So on to the main point of the video. You have a fascination with audio and want to replicate some of the magic you experience as a consumer. How do we go about doing that? First step is to pick your source material. Pick a clip from a movie, TV show, or video game that speaks to you. Usually something small if you're just starting out, even something as simple as a single sound. For this video, we're going to be using an Alien vs Predator intro clip from Mortal Kombat X as an example. My goal when picking this clip was to work on my monster sounds, but as you'll see, there's so much more to this clip. Here's how the original clip sounds.
Round 1, fight!
And here's the clip with my redesigned audio.
Round 1, fight!
Now that you've picked your clip, it's time to study it. Listen to your clip and write down every sound you can pick out on a surface level. Some of the main points from my clip include the xenomorph falling from the trees to the ground, the predator disabling his cloaking device, and the xenomorph screaming. Now after you have all the main actions written down, it's time to go deeper. Think about every little aspect that goes into the final sound, and make sure to use plenty of adjectives to describe everything. The subject's footsteps, how heavy or soft are they? What type of surface are they walking on? Is it wet? Does it creak? These are the types of questions that really matter in order to immerse our audience. A helpful tip for this part is to have your main points broken down into smaller digestible bits. For instance, this clip takes place in a jungle, with the jungle being the main point of interest. The subcategories are the creek running in the background, the birds chirping, and the insects buzzing. So many little things can culminate into what seemed like such a simple sound at first. Keeping a written list is such a great way to stay organized with this type of project because it can get so convoluted so quickly. Here's my detailed list of notes from my sample video. The xenomorph dropping from the trees that has rustling leaves and a whoosh associated with his drop. The xenomorph landing on the ground, his footsteps are wet, feral, and quadrupedal. The predator walking, his footsteps are wet, calm, and quiet. The predator's cloaking being revealed. The predator clicking. The predator raising his arm, the predator's thermal vision activating, which includes a muffled heartbeat, UI buttons, and a drone, the xenomorph screaming, which has the initial inhale and a scream that consists of two parts, the second part really accentuating the little mouth, the announcer saying round 1 fight in a deep and powerful voice, and the background jungle ambience, which is water in a creek, birds, bugs, crickets, flies, and other various bugs, as well as frogs. Now that you have a list of every sound you'll need, it's time to figure out how to make them. This can be achieved using synthesizers, recording objects around you, or even utilizing your own voice. For my projects, I personally set a rule where I can only use sounds I create myself. While this is beneficial for my ego, it could potentially hinder my final product, because sometimes you just need access to sounds you can't make yourself, like a pig squeal. In all seriousness, this rule makes me have to think outside the box and go to unthinkable lengths to get the simplest sounds. For instance, I spent multiple days tearing out my hair researching cricket and bird sounds for this project, when I could have just easily typed in cricket and bird sound effects in freesound.org. Go crazy with this part, as it can be the most fun by far. I screamed into the mic, utilized balloons, experimented with synths, hit trees, splashed around in a muddy puddle in the middle of the night, and tried my hardest to replicate bird calls. It really is a blast to try any crazy method you can cook up to get your desired sound. Embrace it. The final part is bringing it all together into your digital audio workstation. I chose to work in Logic, but any program you choose will have the necessary tools to get the job done. Just like working in music, utilizing your main tools of adjusting volume levels, EQ, and compression will get you very close to your desired results. Other main sound design techniques involve pitch shifting, frequency shifting, ring shifting, reverb, slowing down and speeding up your audio, as well as distortion and saturation. So let's get into the first sound in my project, the xenomorph scream. I chose to use my voice as the foundation for this sound. I drank a glass of milk and proceeded to let loose. The first step to turning my voice into something that could resemble a xenomorph is pitch shifting. The main screams have all been pitched down to match a monster of that size, followed with basic EQ to get rid of nasty frequencies that tend to build up and to cut out unnecessary lows. I also added a few more fry-type screams because that seemed to match the mouth shape of the xenomorph. To help fill out the frequency spectrum, I utilized a few different techniques with the balloon. For the low frequencies, rubbing the balloon provided a fantastic rumbling sound. With the help of pitch shifting, compression, EQ, and distortion, it ended up sounding like this. To fill out the high frequencies, I recorded the air being released from a balloon. With the same effects as before added, it came out sounding like this. There's a second part to the scream that really emphasizes the smaller mouth, so I added a few more high screams to match that. I added a few inhale sounds to the beginning, and bada boom, that's our scream. Our next major sound is the predator clicking. The only way I could think to get this sound was by using my own voice, and I have to say, I was really out of my element here. Originally, I was thinking this sound was done with the crackling of the throat while exhaling, and that's what I had for the majority of my time working on this project. But upon further research, I learned that Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime, is also responsible for the Predator vocalizations. I found videos of him doing it live and realized that the sound came from more of an inhale snarly sound. I tried my best to replicate it, but I am nowhere near Mr. Cullen's level. Although I did find that with the right amount of pitch shifting, ring modulation, and distortion, the combination of these two sounds ended up sounding pretty good. Next is the Predator's cloaking being disabled. I went all digital with this one, combining a few different synth patches. One low-end patch with a lot of unfolding type movement, a high-end sound to match the electric particle effects, and another patch just to give it a nice cohesive personality. All combined together with multiband compression and a unique sci-fi delay. Next is the sound for switching to the Predator's point of view. This is just a synthesizer mimicking a whip noise and another patch adding a tail. And of course with plenty of ring shifting, because that's how you make something sound sci-fi. Followed with the same treatment as the cloaking sound, multiband compression and a sci-fi delay. A few miscellaneous sounds during the Predator's vision consist of a heartbeat, a simple sine wave with a ring shifter, a drone sound made up with a saw wave with an LFO modulating the frequency cutoff, and the final sounds being some UI sounds for the Predator's wrist thing. These sounds were taken from my free Sci-Fi UI sound effects pack I put out a few months ago. I'll leave a link to that in the description if you're interested in downloading that. The sounds were made by clinking some coins together and automating that with a ring shifter. For the Predator's arm moving, I rubbed a pleather microphone case together. For all the footstep sounds, I sloshed around in a mud puddle barefoot in the middle of the night. The initial entrance of the xenomorph is falling from the trees, so I went around my backyard ruffling all different types of leaves and trees to get a variety of different textures. I also added a whoosh sound I got by swinging a large plastic lid for the xenomorph falling to the ground. Now on to my favorite part. The jungle ambience was by far the most fun. The creek flowing was me pouring water into a large plastic bowl. The main processing was removing the nasty plastic frequencies that built up. The crickets were made by using a sine wave with some ring shifting. I utilized two different pitches playing back two different unique rhythms to create some depth. I rapidly flicked my fingers together and pitch shifted that up to emulate the sound of bug wings. I cut out all low frequencies and panned two clips hard left and right to create a wide stereo field. The rest of the sounds were made with my voice. I mimicked flies buzzing a few times and layered that, cutting out all low frequencies. I made a lot of different variations of bird sounds, and when pitch shifted around and spaced properly, I have to say, they came out incredibly well. And to top it off, I made some little frog sounds as well. Everything was sent through an impulse response made in a forest to give it a real sense of space. Altogether, the ambience came out to be very convincing. The final part to add was the announcer voice. I recorded as deep and powerful of a voice as I could, pitched it down, added some compression and reverb, and we're done.
Round 1, fight!
After following me along on my journey, you have all the tools you will need to do your very own sound redesign. To recap, Step 1, pick your clip to redesign. Step 2, study that clip until every part is ingrained in your brain, keeping track of everything in written form. Step 3, record and create all the source audio that you'll need. The fourth and final step is bringing everything together in your DAW of choice, lining up your audio to the video and applying any necessary effects. And at the end of these 4 steps, you're done. Congratulations. Now go out there and get started. It doesn't matter what gear you have. Whatever you're watching this video on right now is most likely more than enough to accomplish your goals. Good luck and have fun. Thank you so much for watching.